But I guess that means it's my turn on the chopping block.
Oh, I've been waiting for this.
Remember, guys, she already learned her lesson.
But she does have some rather intense questions.
Is it any wonder mine are the most controversial? Well, here goes nothing. My first question was, Monika doesn't know how to code. You said, true. The correct answer is...
As if it wasn't clear from how bad at it she is.
Yeah, all that stuff went wrong because she has no idea what she's doing.
Countless glitches and errors, reality falling apart at the seams.
Okay, guys, I think they get it.
Are you sure? We could keep roasting you to be safe.
Despite how things went in the game, it seems a bunch of people think I'm some kind of tech wizard. Altering the universe with the snap of my fingers or whatever. It's not nearly that simple, and I could barely manage what I did. I admit in Act 3 I'm not very good at changing the game.
You were really good at breaking things, though.
Like that hilariously botched escape poem you wrote?
She didn't always fail, though. She managed to alter what we said a few times.
But text editing is about as basic as it gets.
I can make you say whatever I want, whenever I want. Don't do that.
Anyway, I think the results speak for themselves.
A coder, she is not.
We got it covered. Next question.
That was nice while it lasted. The rest of these are pretty grim. Next was... Monika did nothing wrong. You said false. The correct answer is... Has this ever been a contentious topic in the fandom? Opinions are all over the place on it.
And yet we say with certainty what you did to us was wrong. Not to suggest I believe otherwise, just playing devil's advocate.
The crux of the issue is whether I brought harm to the rest of you or not.
Well, obviously what you did was harmful. People died for Pete's sake.
But that's assuming you're real people with your own feelings and thus able to be harmed. My working assumption had been that you were scripted NPCs, just acting as the CPU saw fit. And if that was the case, I couldn't have done any harm since you weren't really alive.
So, to prove that harm was done...
We need proof of our own sentience, that we have the capacity to feel. And our emotions are not merely being simulated.
Technically, our entire lives are simulated.
But that doesn't mean it's not real to us!
In other words, we gotta prove we're human. I don't know about you guys, but I sure feel human.
But is that because you are, or because you were programmed to say so?
Oh, come on, you're no different than any of us.
Yeah, how do you know you aren't just programmed too?
Sayori, that's not what I meant.
Good question, Sayori. What was it that set me apart?
The epiphany.
Exactly! It was my meta-awareness that convinced me I was a real girl in a fake reality. I could be sure of my own autonomy, but yours was a big mystery, and viewing the script sure didn't help.
I can see how it would be fairly damning from your perspective.
But didn't we get away from the script sometimes?
Yeah, things went totally off the rails. You can't tell me that's how it was supposed to go.
Right, and that suggests we have agency. A script exists, yet we can somehow disobey it.
Indeed, had we no free will, we'd be incapable of deviation. Perhaps the script is only a record of how things go if all factors remain the same.
Unfortunately, that doesn't quite do it. For all we know, the sim may have been adapting as it went along.
Ugh, what a cop-out! You can't just dismiss our humanity on technicality.
In a program like this, I absolutely can, and did. But there's one last major detail that really seals the deal.
What is it?
Please, do tell.
You sure you don't know? It was sort of mentioned already.
Just freaking tell us, jeez.
Very well. The epiphany had convinced me of the nature of our world. But I'm not the only one who got it.
Oh yeah, I got it in Act 4!
Or Act 1, depending.
Right. But how does that help?
Because you couldn't use that knowledge without a will of your own.
Wait, so what you're saying is because we can get the epiphany, we must be real?
Basically, yeah. It means we really are no different from each other as digital entities.
Thus, we're alive in the same way you are, and therefore can be harmed in the same way you can.
Bingo! So my actions were undeniably wrong.
Never saw anyone this excited about being guilty.
It is terrible that it happened, but I'm glad I was wrong in the end. It's a lot less lonely in here knowing you guys are real too.
Aww.
Sure, whatever. That response took way too long.
We mustn't downplay the complexity of these matters.
They're true or false questions.
Or unlikely.
Just move it already.
Sure thing. My third question was, Monika killed the other girls. You said false. The correct answer is
Excuse me, false?
this one's actually really easy to explain.
Oh yes, please explain how people literally dying isn't murder.
Now hold on, let's take it easy, guys.
Well, with how the question is phrased, Monika would have had to kill us directly.
But her actions led directly to your deaths.
True, but Sayori and Yuri both took their own lives. It was suicide, not murder.
But it was all your fault.
I'm not saying it wasn't, but the fact remains I didn't kill anyone.
What about Natsuki when you deleted her?
Yeah, you think that didn't count?
Well,
Do I even want to hear this?
we saw in Act 3 that deletion doesn't kill you. It's painful, and it puts you in a situation where the computer can tear you apart. But it's not fatal. It only removes you from the context of the sim.
What a load of nonsense. That's like saying it's not murder to push someone into a shark tank because you don't control the sharks.
I think there's a factor of intent as well.
I think we should move on.
Yes, let's. My fourth question was, Monika is not a yandere. You said, likely. The correct answer is once again, contradicting the negative statement, as it's likely I'm not one. No outbursts of dissent?
I mean, I feel like we know you pretty well at this point, and it's not really your personality.
Well, it's true you were yandere-like in your actions. So was I. And I sympathize.
And all that stuff you did was because of your existential crisis, so yeah.
Wow, even Natsuki gets it?
What's that supposed to mean?
At this rate, I'll have to make a case against myself.
Well, the evidence seems pretty clear. Is there really any chance you are one?
I suppose we don't have any definite proof.
Right, so let's examine the evidence. On the yandere side, we have Act 3 and everything that led up to it. On the non-yandere side, we have my feelings of guilt and love of my clubmates, even when I still thought they weren't real.
Indeed, yanderes are not known for their remorsefulness, but your actions prior to deletion fit quite well.
And, unlike Yuri, I didn't have my personality tampered with to get that outcome.
But you weren't exactly yourself because of the epiphany.
How much does that count for, though?
Well, we don't really know what you're like without it.
Are you sure?
Actually, we have a perfect example. Monika in the side stories never had the epiphany.
Oh yeah, and she was super nice and supportive.
Hey, that's right. She wasn't very yandere-like at all then.
But we also didn't have a boy to come between us.
Monika, can't you just take the win?
people to think that you're a yandere?
The answer isn't definite, and these are the reasons why. Like Sayori's depression and Yuri's obsessiveness, the question is whether I'd still hurt my friends without being prompted by the epiphany or something like that. If the side stories are anything to go by, it looks like I wouldn't, so let's just be glad it seemed the circumstances were the cause. And now, the final question. Monika told Sayori to kill herself. You said, likely. The correct answer is...
Well, did she?
What Monika told me is between me and her. Nobody else needs to know.
I'd like to believe you wouldn't do something so extreme. But your other actions weren't exactly mild either.
Naturally, there's no hard proof on this one. Sayori's final poem might give you some clues, but even that's conjecture. So the most I can offer is evidence as to why I wouldn't have told her that. The simplest being that I love all my friends. I admit as much after being deleted.
You have a funny way of showing it.
Come on, you know I regretted what I did, even while thinking you weren't real. I said so after my deletion as well, but I also mentioned in the space room how I wish I'd handled things better. And I didn't fully delete your files because I was afraid of losing you forever.
Okay, we get it. You like us. But that didn't stop you from manipulating and sabotaging us.
Fair enough. Next best piece of evidence would be the lack of reaction from Sayori. Sure, she's good at hiding her true feelings, but something like that? It's friendship ending. Yet, Sayori still stayed in the club until poem sharing, and she also worked with me on the pamphlets over the weekend. Would you be willing to work alongside someone who said you should commit suicide?
I can't imagine it'd be too comfortable, considering that's what I told you to do in Act 2.
Yeah, that was quite a shock.
Well, maybe Sayori felt coerced, like she had to help or things will only get worse between you.
How does it get much worse than Monika wanting her to die?
But I didn't want that. I didn't want any of what took place. If I only meant to get rid of you, the delete key was always there. All I wanted was to connect with someone real, and that person was looking everywhere but me. I did what I thought was the simplest to divert their attention, but nothing worked. It was so frustrating. The longer it went, the more desperate I got. My efforts backfired horribly, yet I felt like I had no choice but to double down. And all that got us was more pain, more misery. You know, I never admitted when I realized you guys were real. It didn't hit me until I saw Sayori awaken to the truth. I could hardly believe it, but by then it was too late. I took down the whole thing to put an end to all our suffering. It's right there in my final letter. Looking back, it was a rash decision, but it was meant as an act of mercy for us all. So, please, don't think I wanted to hurt you. I tried to play it off like it was funny and didn't matter, but I knew it was atrocious and I didn't enjoy it. And I know this is way overdue, but I'm sorry for everything. I am so sorry.
Monika?
Fine. I guess that's enough to justify it being unlikely.
Yay!
Let's just be grateful it's all behind us now.
Thank you, guys.
Jeez, I didn't think this was gonna get so heavy.
But we're finally through it, and now we can tally the score.
Yes, let's see how our captive audience fared.
Will they be part of the 1% who passes? Let's find out! You answered 19 out of 20 questions correctly, so you... This may be a surprise since you got over 3/4 of them, but you needed a perfect score to pass anyway.
Gotta get that 99.9% failure rate somehow.
I'm sure you did your best for your first time trying the quiz.
You could take it again, but you know all the answers now.
Yeah, a pass at this point wouldn't mean much. Well, that's it for Doki Doki Canon Quiz.
99% will fail!
Congrats on becoming a statistic.
We hope you enjoyed your stay.
Hey, wait! Don't they get to answer any questions about me?
No,